listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. Ados need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. Lineage go back to U.S. Southern plantations. Lineage, Jim Crow and mass incarceration. Redline and lynchings. We are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one. Cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire. Anti-black, we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country. The way you need our energy. You gon' see. Listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. Ados need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.
So welcome to Reset Race. I am one of your illustrious hosts, Samantha Angelique, and we are going to start off with our guests. So ladies first, Dr. J, you're up.
Hello, I am Dr. J. That's what I am on Twitter. You can follow me at your own risk. I'm excited to see what happens tonight. I'm ADOS. I'm half ADOS, half Haitian. And I'm excited to see what happens tonight. I'm ready to cuss people out if I have to, but yeah.
All right, Cash, you're up.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me as well. To Veggie back, right? I'm a Black American on both sides, a reparations to the bone, a Black nationalist as well. I believe in us having our own nation someday in America. And a lot of people probably know me as a break dancer, a b-boy, and a filmmaker. So I want to show those who might know me from that previous life.
Awesome. See, I learned something. Alrighty then. Well, y'all can follow me at Twitter at me17trillion. I'm never really on there anymore. I'm still kind of burnt out, but we'll see. Okay. John.
Yeah, man. It's John C. I ain't, you know what I mean? Like, you got Dr. J here, you got niggas making movies. I'm just a nigga, like, I don't even know why the fuck I'm here. But I'm back. You know, the white man held me down. Trying to hold me down, so maybe read books and shit. But, you know, I'm back. I'm back with the fan, glad to be here, man. And, you know, let's do it. Let's do what we do. Fuck it.
Mud.
Yeah, they call me Mud. You can find me on all my socials, Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, @oflineage, Bitter Dose TV. I'm about to drop something soon. I've been working on it like for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. And I hope that, you motherfuckers enjoy this shit. But yeah, let's get to the show.
Okay, so I'm not as good at setting up stuff as MG is. So basically, we've got Eddie Glaude Jr. on one of these Peacock YouTube shows that nobody watches, talking about reparations. And at a certain point, I just didn't know what the hell he was talking about. So let's just go ahead and run through this, and we're going to have to flesh this out because, some of y'all tap dancing, and I can't take it. Like, you tap dancing and you are not Gregory Hines. This is not your skill. This is not your gift. I'm going to need you to stop. Like, for real, I need you to stop. So, all right, let's get this going. Okay, start broadcast. Okay, and then back to the YouTube. Got it. Okay, here we go.
The transatlantic slave trade is a centuries-long story of brazen home invasions, robberies and kidnappings, brutal rapes, horrific murders, and finally forced labor. The losses for black people in America have been immeasurable and intergenerational. And it wasn't until President Bill Clinton that the US started to even approach a formal apology for that brutal legacy. Speaking in Uganda in 1998, President Clinton said this.
And of course, going back to the time before we were even a nation, European Americans received the fruits of the slave trade. And we were wrong in that as well.
But even that stopped short of a full mea culpa. President Bush delivered a similar non-apology apology, visiting a slave trading outpost, in 2003. It wasn't until he was out of office that a full formal apology for slavery came in the form of a congressional resolution in 2009. And the expression of regret was welcome, but did little substantively for the descendants of slaves, who never inherited what was robbed from their ancestors. So at last, under the Biden administration, has the moment arrived for America to atone for its bloody and barbaric participation in chattel slavery. Part of President Biden's relief bill allocated $5 billion to farmers of color. It was called the most significant legislation for black farmers since the Civil Rights Act. Senator Lindsey Graham, who was in office during the Senate slavery apology, went on Fox News to express his beef with Biden giving back to the black community.
In this bill, if you're a farmer, your loan will be forgiven up to 120% of your loan, not 100%, but 120% of your loan if you're socially disadvantaged, if you're African American, some other minority. But if you're white person, if you're a white woman, no forgiveness. That's reparations.
On a local level, Evanston, Illinois is now the first U.S. city to fund reparations for its black residents.
Okay, but with Evanston, isn't Evanston like a flat black? And isn't it a people of color bill too?
And Evanston is predominantly Jewish. I'm from Chicago. Evanston is like the north side, northwest side-ish of Chicago. Predominantly white, predominantly wealthy, and a lot of black immigrants live in Evanston. Not many.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's not even going to the descendants of slaves. It's just going to black residents.
And a lot of those black residents in Evanston are not ADOS.
Well,
they're black immigrant, and most of them Jamaican. No offense to Jamaica, y'all, they deserve reparations from Great Britain, not from the United States.
Hey, we're speaking for Evanston reparations.
Yeah, that's what they just brought up. They're talking about Evanston.
Yeah, in my understanding, this is Cash speaking, right? In my understanding, the Evanston bill is only to address quote unquote black people who were affected by redlining. And I think that they actually have a timeline. So it might be from like 1919 to 1951 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how many immigrants were here then. So I think that we might have been able to get it worded in a way to our advantage. What I did hear, unfortunately, though, is that they forced the people of the community into a survey that only had 3 options and no box to write in to get direct cash payments. And so it sounds like the money can only go towards housing. And lastly, I do like that it's connected to marijuana tax dollars. The piggy bank have to pay, but some people like that, some people don't. But for me, it's an easy answer to white folks who are like, where are you gonna get the money from?
I like MMT, but that's a good start. That's an easy way for people to wrap their minds around it. I'm gonna tax the weed. Got it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But yo, can I say something?
Of course.
Say this. Oh no, I'm just gonna say this. Like what Lindsey Graham is fucking doing. Lindsey Graham, this shit just show you how deep this shit is, because what Lindsey Graham is doing, Lindsey Graham is on some shit talking about something. What about the white farmers? And what about, first of all, the bill is structured in a way where it's not even going to the people, like other people could still dip their hand in it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not even specific. It's not even specific enough. But this lets you know the people of color kind of like. This lets you know that when people say think about us, and yet they still trying to find a way to get a piece of what is owed to us. Like, And like it's just the confusion.
And then when they give stuff to everybody, they say it just went to the blacks.
Yep. Yep. So that's a way. It's a way not to give. It's a way not to give people stuff, and a way not to give us our stuff. You know what I'm saying? That shit.
Right.
That shit. Crazy. So, you know, more bullshit.
But all right, let's get back to this. Let's see what else we got.
City is committed $10 million over the next 10
Oh,
years.
go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, all of this sounds like con games from every fucking angle. Like, we got the people of color shit in the mix. We got the we're gonna call loan forgiveness reparations instead of like, you know what I'm saying? Break me off with some brand new bread. If you're gonna call it reparations, don't be trying to.
My bad, man. Give us our bread. Keep going, man. Keep going, cuz.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, and then this whole thing where like the Republicans are trying to make us the bad guys out of the mix of this shit. Well, it's not even specific to us. This shit has been going on for the longest time, where we have been like the political football, where we don't actually get anything out of this whole game. That like both sides fight on our issues, and we never gain anything from any of it.
We never win the Super Bowl, so to speak, into Mud's analogy of the football. We never win the Super Bowl. We are the football that they kick.
Word up.
So, John, you weren't here last week, but I would like to know how somebody in a reparations video, I think it was the Bill Maher one from last week, somebody said that we got the majority of the benefits from the Great Society. Any comments, John?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing about the Great Society, in a lot of ways, that shit was a failure, because they didn't think about it. I think what Martin Luther King was trying to do was he was thinking that just being in white spaces was going to allow us certain access to certain shit. So
that's because he thought that they were human. Oh no, he thought that they were moral. Sorry, moral.
No, you're right. You said it right, Sam. He thought they were human.
Yeah, word up.
Jay, you gonna get me in trouble. I was trying to correct myself.
Yeah, you know how this shit is. But the Great Society it disproportionately benefits us, but it's fucking survive. It's not like it elevated us though. The Great Society, all them programs is like they're there to make you like stable poor. They there to just keep you alive and shit like that. Medicaid is keep you alive health insurance. You know what I'm saying? Like you buy some. You know what I mean? Like that lets you know that real, because it's at a certain income threshold that you can't even be eligible for them programs. Like so that lets you know that our income and our wealth position has not. You feel me? Like that shit is not changed. It probably went lower since then. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that we even able to access them programs lets you know that we ain't never really get included into the society in the economic sense. The fact that the Great Society talking about that shit, that's our reparations is bullshit. It's straight up bullshit. And if it's reparations, then it's supposed to be specific. Anybody can be a part. Anybody can get the Great Society programs if you make you feel me? Depending on your income. What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So it's bullshit.
All right. Well,
here's the thing with both sides. Both sides create these bullshit policies, and they act like we're getting some type of feast when we're actually just getting crumbs.
Not even crumbs. We getting crumbs from other groups. We're not even getting crumbs from the original table. We getting crumbs off somebody else's plate from the crumbs. Did y'all see that shit on Netflix? Did anybody see the shit on Netflix? I can't remember the name of it. Where you would get rotated levels each week or something. And then like if you were at the top level, you could access all of the food when it went down first. But by like, but you could be as low as like level 150. And by then there's like nothing, no food, nothing left. Like we're way on those bottom levels with all the shit picked over. And they act like we was on the first floor and got to eat first. Damn, now I gotta look that movie up. It wasn't that good, but the imagery is good.
Oh, you saw that shit with the elevator. I know you talking about that nigga speaking French and all that. Eating the human being and jelly donuts and all that. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, with the food and shit, and the food tray would go down the middle through each level.
Heard up.
And they would be like killing each other and shit over the food and shit. Yeah, no, that was something else. But yeah, that's what I think about when it comes to us. Like they act like we got to eat at like the first table when we were like way down towards the bottom where there wasn't even like scraps left. Like we was licking the crumbs off the table. But all right, let's rock this. Let's get back to this. Anything else, guys, before I go back to this?
Now let's go.
Okay.
The U.S. city to fund reparations for its black residents. The city has committed $10 million over the next 10 years to address the wealth and opportunity gaps black people have experienced because of historic racism and discrimination. Now, the private institutions are getting on board too. The Jesuit Order of Catholic Priests has vowed to raise $100 million to atone for the church's hand in slave labor and sales. It's being called the largest effort by an institution to promote racial reconciliation. So,
yep.
The fact that they are fundraising money to give to black folk, like,
yeah,
no,
sell some of that stolen shit.
Exactly. Give me the church.
Yeah.
Give me the gold that you have in the church. I do not want you fundraising no money. Give me the money that you get every week in your pews. No.
Nah, give me that shit in the vault.
Yes, in the vault. Because it's all stolen. Anyway. Yeah,
all of it.
I just had to say that for that.
And $100 million is some Marianne Williamson bullshit. This is not enough money. $100 million is not enough money, especially because the Catholic Church owes the world. Like when people be talking about how the United States should pay reparations to all black people. No, the Catholic Church should pay fucking reparations to all black people around the world because they have sanctioned bullshit. They are culpable to Negroes across the world.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
But $100 million, this is chump change. Like I know Negroes come cheap, but that's because y'all ain't been talking to the right ones.
Exactly.
Out here talking to these Al Sharptons, like what did Byron now say? Out here dancing for a chicken supper. Not a feast, a chicken supper. Go ahead, Cash.
It's funny because the dude who began this whole conversation, Mehdi Hassan, he mentioned words like immeasurable, right? That's why I'm happy that we have people like Dr. William Darity, right? Now, the $100 million, that is laughable to us. That might sound crazy to some people, though.
It's laughable.
Never seen $1 million or something, but I remember just one specific point that there was a dude running for president, Bloomberg. Right, he paid his way to get on the Democratic stage and all that, right? But he at one point went to Black Wall Street and stood there as a billionaire, right, saying that black people are owed reparations. And they asked him off the top what he thought, and he was like, "Man, probably like $60 billion." And everyone was like, "You know what his net? Hold on, you know what his net worth is? The 60. One dude, Bloomberg, $67 billion. He believes
right. We should get $7 billion less than what he got for $40 million.
Then our entire life's work. You know what I'm saying?
Like capacity.
So that's a low ball as well. We all know that we're in the trillions. Like there's the great wealth transfer. There's the wealth gap, which was just mentioned as well. So we're definitely trillions.
And I am a Thomas Kramer fan. I love you, Darity, and I'm gonna say this over and over again. But Thomas Kramer's 64 quadrillion hits. It hits different.
Hey, yo.
Connecticut. Yes, Connecticut.
He the first one that made me feel like I needed $1 trillion. He the first one that was like, yo, real shit. Like, all black people, I did the calculations and they all are owed $1 trillion. I said, oh, shit. That's my dude. I'm like, yeah, I do need $1 trillion.
Yes, Connecticut.
You need to be Jeff Bezos. You need to be Jeff Bezos out here.
We need to be
yes, Connecticut. I'm so glad that he teaches at UConn, I think, University of Connecticut. One of the schools out here in Connecticut. Yes, Connecticut, 860. Okay, I gotta say. I know he's German, but he out here in Connecticut.
But yes, $100 million is an insult. And the fact that you're going to fundraise it is even worse. But I guess y'all understand that we're coming for you, but your charity will not be enough. All right, should we go back to this?
Does Mud, you have anything to say?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Thomas Kramer, it's 6 quadrillion. 6.
Oh, it's 6. I'm sorry. I said 64. Whatever. 664. You're in the quadrillions. Fuck it. Six
Damn.
six quadrillion, whatever. I still want my money. Quit talking to me and quit talking to me. Who did I say this to yesterday? I said it to my friend Edie. I think I said it this morning. Quit talking to me about how a check doesn't fix things when you just sent $1,400 checks to people all over this fucking country. Why don't you tell them that checks don't fucking fix things? How about that?
Nah, if they did that, they would have more messes at the Capitol.
As they should, and this is what I'm saying.
Right,
so why do y'all think it's okay to talk to Black people like this? Like,
saying we know why.
Because we Black.
It's real shit. It's not only because we Black, it's because we not the black people that we is. You know why. Bullshit.
All right, well, we haven't even got to Eddie Glaude's part, and that's when it gets bad, especially when he starts on this rainbows and unicorns bullshit. You'll see what I'm talking about when it comes up.
With all these important conversations happening around reparations and compensation, are we at a turning point? And how could it work across the board? Here to discuss is the chair of Princeton University's African American Studies Department, Professor Eddie Glaude Jr. Eddie, thanks so much for coming back on the show. What do you make of these moves by the Biden administration with the $5 billion for Black farmers, the Jesuits with their $100 million fund? Is this a first step towards reparations across the board?
I'm not sure, but it's certainly a first step. It's the case that we find ourselves in this moment. It's a moment of transition. It's obvious to me, Mehdi, that America is changing. What that change will look like in the end, I'm not sure. But there is a sense in which the kind of racial reckoning that we've been experiencing over the last year, and in some ways over the last 4 years.
I got you. Boom.
Okay, as I eat my Cheetos, you can't have nobody on here not sure. Why are you saying you're not sure?
Why do you not have an economist? Like, I don't give a fuck that you're in charge of the Black Studies Department.
Exactly.
The fuck does that have to do with reparations? What's your reparations study? What is your pedigree on reparations? They just propped you up because you're a Negro that they keep on payroll.
Yeah. And
didn't somebody say a lot of this shit they do for pro bono? Like, don't they half pay the Negroes? Because wasn't that what Roland was saying back in the day? About how they wasn't really getting paid to show up on this shit? They probably really ain't getting paid now that they sitting in their house.
I mean, I agree with Dr. J. Like, why the fuck is he, like, what is Eddie Glaude doing? Like, why would you even go on there and say you're not sure? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Just say, like.
Because he's a useless Negro. All right. So now that we're back to Professor Eddie Glaude Jr.
Year and in some ways over the last 4 years has come to this moment where we're trying in some significant way to address the systemic discrimination at the heart of the country. That the racial inequality is not the result of just simply happenstance or, it's not the result of just random acts of discrimination. It's actually the result of deliberate policy decisions. And in the case of the Black farmers with the Associated Press study, Torn from the Land, it was documented, right? Showing how government and others stole land, murdered folk, did a whole range of things. And so if we're going to address a situation that was the result of deliberate choices, policy choices, then it seems to me they're going to be, in order to remedy it, it's going to have to be deliberate acts like the ones we see now.
So wait.
So he's championing the bullshit, place-based bullshit that they're doing.
But then why was he unsure? Like, he just made the case for reparations. And he said, I'm not sure. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
The mental gymnastics, let me tell you. I gotta start stretching again because I'm not that flexible.
Hey sis, did Eddie Glaude did he cry? Was he cry? Was he like a Van Jones?
No,
he's not a Van Jones.
He never cried?
He don't be crying like Van Jones.
I ain't gonna lie.
He do be getting angry though. He do be angry and wanted to throw books at white folk, but then he has to remind himself that he can't do that. I'm like, just throw books at these motherfuckers. All the books you got in your library, throw them.
Tell you, right?
Right, come on. You are Dr. Eddie Glaude Jr. at Princeton. Throw
just
books
mad.
at these white hoes.
Didn't Darity's book come out like a year ago? At this point,
Yes.
how the fuck do you not know? Like,
how are you not sure?
Go fuck yourself, for real.
And here's the thing, like, I know these motherfuckers read the book. I know all these black academics read this fucking book.
They know each other. Darity and Eddie Glaude know each other, right? I think they do.
Darity knows all these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Eddie
So
knows
maybe-
the professors at my school, at University
Yeah.
College. He knows.
Yeah, this is a joke. So go ahead, Mud.
Nah, I was just saying, like, he knows all these motherfuckers. Like, he like, Darity has been around the circuit for a long motherfucking time.
30 years.
And he knows damn near everybody. But all these motherfuckers act like they don't know him.
Brand new. Because they don't want to give up their butter biscuits, like, or they're just like free promo time so people can see them and buy their books. But all right, let's keep going because it gets worse.
And I have to ask Eddie, can you put a cash value on the crime that was slavery, on hundreds of years of forced labor?
Of course not. You know, I think in so many ways, what an apology around slavery, what reparations in whatever form it might take actually represents is really a kind of acknowledgement of the ghosts that haunt. What does it mean to avoid or evade, right, a set of actions that have determined the trajectory of your life, the trajectory of the history of the country? Well, it means that you're anchored, that this tether, the thongs are tethered around or tied around your ankles, that you can't really release yourself into imagining being otherwise. And so this particular gesture.
Nigga, black people's problem is not they fucking imagination. We are some of the most imaginative, fucking aspirational ass motherfuckers. Listen, my poor white friends don't ever think they're gonna be rich. None of them. It's only my poor ass black ones that think that they're gonna be rich one day. Just saying, like, if we can all just dream to have a better day one day, what the fuck is Eddie Glaude talking about? Y'all see what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like he's at an open mic trying to recite some goddamn poetry. That's what the fuck this shit sounds like.
All fucking feelings, no fucking facts. White people don't care about your feelings. They're not, that's not how they operate. That's not how they make decisions. That's not how they move through the world and function. They don't.
But what you got, you peep what the Indian host playing devil's advocate talking about something like, isn't it, you can't count reparations. Like, we did so much shit to y'all that we can never do anything to fix it. So that's what.
Yeah, I bet that dude's a fucking Brahmin too.
Yeah, he looks.
Like, and then Eddie Glaude come with the, you know what I mean? Like, y'all black love, survival. He's like, you know, he's doing his poetry.
Told you,
like,
rainbows and unicorns and shit. Told you.
I'm like, yo, bro, we got the number on it. We got the economists that really did, that really put feelings to the side and got the numbers down, and the history that attached to why the numbers is real. Like, you know what I'm saying? And they don't even, nah, you know what I mean? Like, real shit. So you see that? He wasn't like, yo, you can't, motherfucker, like, real shit. Like, this shit is like, it's too much to give to y'all. It's either too much to give to y'all or we can't give it to y'all because somebody else gonna get mad or blah, blah, blah. We know what like, come on. You know what I mean? Eddie Glaude, what he should have said was like, yes, it's too much. It's too much to give to y'all, but we do got a number to start to really fix this shit, to close the gap. Like, we got a number. Like, we know how it's supposed to be implemented, who's supposed to get it. That's what he should have said. But he know what to say. He's like, you know, it's based off love. And white people do eat mayonnaise sandwiches. I don't know.
My thing is, no, it is a price. We did the labor. Pay us. There is a price on what we paid the price already to build this goddamn country. Pay us. I don't want to hear nobody ever say to me, oh, we don't have enough money to pay for the damage. Yes, you do. It's called reparations. It's called trillions of dollars. It's called this fucking wealth that's in this goddamn country. Pay us. We did the labor. We did the work. We bled. We cried. You hung us on the trees. Pay us. There is a price. That's all I got to say on it.
Yeah. I definitely, I think that there's both white and black people who have like a twisted version of this question in their own head, where they say that it's blood money that we're asking for from a corrupt government to pay a quantifiable amount for rape and torture. I don't think that's the way we should look at reparations at all. I think that's what John was trying to say. And luckily, because we have an economist speaking to the lost wages, that can be calculated. I think we should look at it like this. Obviously, they were brutal in general, but I think a major amount of their brutality was specifically in response to not paying for labor. So if we see the brutality as a distraction that was used to traumatize us instead of paying us our due wages, we can finally take our check and be out. But I think too many people are afraid that asking for reparations is taking money from a corrupt government in exchange for the brutality that they did to us for lynching us and stuff. And I don't think that can ever be quantified with a dollar amount or land. I will mention this though, when we study about how white women specifically had a hand in the slave trade in America, and how Black women were trafficked while they were pregnant for their breast milk, there might be a specific justice claim where Black women can argue that they're owed reparations for that specific injustice. But I'm saying, like, in general, the brutality to me was a distraction. It is a distraction. We want to be paid for the wages and for our kidnapping, for the worth of our bodies itself.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Shit.
man, where you
Not
find this
only
nigga?
that.
God damn. My bad, Mug. I'm like, damn, this nigga going in. You want it? All right, bro. All right, for sure, bro. For sure.
That's why I love him. I love Cash. Mm.
Word up. Dr. J, you going in too, sis. God damn, Sam. Ain't nobody told me they was gonna be. It's been like they my family. Why you ain't telling me my family is going? My cousins is gonna be it. And cousin Mud, go ahead. Put them in the dirt. I ain't gonna talk the rest of the show. I'm going to sleep. Taking a nap.
I'm just gonna say it's way more than like wages, like the Homestead Act, like all this shit that we've missed out on because they've been racist over the fucking centuries. Like they owe us for all of that. Like even with this shit, like if Eddie Glaude didn't read Darity's book, I know he's read like The Color of Law, The Color of Money, where he knows like figures as far as like how much white families have been enriched based off of redlining. You could argue that we deserve reparations for that alone, and you'd be talking about, $300,000 per family. So like there's ways to fucking do this, and he's like, this is bullshit right now. He knows better than this. He's smarter than this. He's just playing the game.
Educated dummy. He's an educated dummy.
Hey, Sam, where you at, Sam?
Y'all can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but I was saying if I was a white person and I know nothing about reparations and I was just sitting listening to this nigga talk, I'd be like, what the fuck is this dude talking about? Like, I'd be like, huh? Like, there's no facts, no figures. Like, tell me about the racial wealth gap. Tell me about, all the money that's been taken out of the Black community. Tie it to now. Tie it to the prison industrial complex. Like, you are not the person they should have been talking to for this. And you should educate yourself and do better. I expect more for you, head of the African American Studies at what the fuck they say, Princeton, where the fuck you work. Like, I expect more if they're going to tout you out as a Negro to speak on my issues. Tired of y'all niggas being my representatives and y'all don't know shit. Between you and Charlemagne the God, I don't know what to do. Like, and I didn't even want to catch this. Like, I woke up in the middle of the night. It was just the ancestors telling me he was saying bullshit. Where? Because it was random. I only clicked on it because it only had 26 people watching. So I was gonna take a screenshot. Like, look, nobody watching this shit. Even now, it only has like 2,100 views. It's been up for like 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Wow, the ancestors speaking.
Man, I cannot. We need to ask for more money. That 272 ain't enough. Go ahead, John.
They said, but to just piggyback off what y'all, what all y'all said, you know what I mean? Like, and what Cash said about like how they did Black women about the breast milk. I think that like it could be a real case of reparations solely based upon motherfucking how they used to motherfucking snip our, you know what I mean, snip our women tubes when they go to the doctor and shit. So like,
Yeah, we got a bunch of shit.
No reason, like I'm talking about between the 30s and the 60s and the 30s and the 70s. Like if you was in, especially Mississippi, definitely Mississippi is definitely a candidate. You feel me? Like Alabama, Georgia,
Yep,
South,
they were
North Florida,
sterilizing
South
us, giving
Carolina.
us hysterectomies.
Fannie Lou Hamer, you know what I'm saying? Like real shit. Fannie Lou Hamer, like she going in there, gallbladder, something else fucked up. They put you to sleep. Next thing you know, you can't have no babies no more. Like it was, you feel me? Like that's some Nazi shit. Like that's some wild shit. Like I mean, it did it to other people, but like that shit, it was targeted towards us in a way that it wasn't targeted towards maybe Native, maybe, but not like that though. It's like, yo, that's why black women are scared to go to the hospital. Black people don't go to the hospital, go to the doctor no more. Like, you feel me? Like I mean,
Yeah,
like
to this day, that's
to this
why we
day,
still don't really care for hospitals yet.
Word
Oh,
up. Put you to sleep.
speaking of, I have a quick story on that. Like I suffer from an illness that I have in regards to my cycle, my period, TMI, I know. And I have been rushed to the hospital ever since my cycle started. And one day when I was 29, I was in the hospital and my white woman doctor told me to get rid of my uterus. She said, if you get sick like this, you might as well just get rid of take your uterus out. I was like, no, I'm gonna figure out a natural way to heal myself from, getting sick on my cycle. And she was like, all right, I'm just giving you a suggestion to take out your uterus altogether. I was like, no. And this was Connecticut, and this was in 2019.
That's
so
a mess.
This is still happening today. I'm a perfectly healthy woman, and she wanted me to take out my uterus because of a sickness that I have.
No, because you're black and you shouldn't have babies.
Right. That's what she thought.
She was getting her, was it Margaret? No, was it Patty Stanger? Which one is, not Patty Stanger, Margaret. Which one is the one? The one from, no, I'd be mixing them up. No, what's the one from Planned Parenthood?
Ain't that Margaret Sanger? Hey,
it is, okay.
You know what that is. I don't know.
Shit, I'm having a brain fart. I think that's who it is.
Me too. Because I'm mixing up names, but yeah, so yeah, fuck them. Fuck them, they mammies. I hope they ancestors roast. So, all right, let's get back to this because he got more rainbows and unicorns and shit.
Particular gesture. It's a gesture in some ways to free us up, to imagine ourselves differently. What that will look like requires, in some ways, dealing with a history that has the country by the throat.
Yeah, and that history, well, here's a question I would ask. When we talk about the history by the throat,
sure.
I mean, we talk about the original sin of slavery. There's also, of course, the genocide that accompanied the founding of this country of indigenous peoples. Do Native Americans also qualify for reparations if we go down this road?
And before he even says this, how many times do we have to say Native Americans have said this over and over and over again? Reparations is not their avenue. They are a sovereign people. They have treaties with the U.S. government that the U.S. government is not upholding. So before you start talking about reparations for Native Americans, you need to talk to actual Native American tribes, and they will tell you don't know what the fuck that they're talking about, and they will tell you what the fuck they want.
Exactly. And they just got land.
Mud, tell the story that I ask you to tell every time, because we're going to tell this story so much that's going to be ingrained in people's brains.
But I just wanted to add on, they want their fucking land. That's what the fuck they want. They want their land and they want to be left alone and be treated like a separate nation.
Tell them what happened when they tried to pay them reparations. Because everybody doesn't understand that they tried to pay some of these tribes reparations.
Yes. In 1946, they had the Indian Claims Commission in 1946, where they realized they fucked over the tribes and they wanted to do something. This is like right after the Holocaust in Germany. They came back and said, we did a genocide to the Native Americans, so we need to do something for them. And it took a couple of decades. They paid out a lot of tribes some money. But some of the tribes did not want the money. They like the Lakota, they have like over $1 billion sitting in the U.S. Treasury. What they want is their fucking land. And their people are holding out as long as they can. And the white man's waiting until, all the hard body Native American motherfuckers die off. And they got all these Ambiguous $5 motherfuckers.
Yup. All right. Anything else for this, or should we keep going?
Do you want to go into the part about them owning slaves and all that too? Or
Hey, I'm with it. I'm always here for it.
And don't they got treaties?
Yeah. That's what I said. They're their own. They're their own thing. Like we don't even have the same type of deal. And that's why I was laughing, because in Tuesday, somebody was talking about how Jimmy Dore's wife got mad at him because he checked her when she was talking about how Latinos should get reparations. And this is the thing, like Black Americans, we are citizens. Our harm was done by our own country, right? The Native Americans are a separate nation, so they are dealing country to country. So that's the thing. It's a different type of claim. And people just be trying to throw shit all together. Even with Latinos, like if y'all want to sue, you guys have to sue from your home country to this country for reparations. You can't sue as an American citizen for what happened, for what this country did to your home country. Your home country has to sue, and you got to get your cut through your home country. That's how this shit works.
Agreed.
It's too much. That's all annoying and frustrating. And everybody just wants to use our justice claim instead of doing the work for their own.
Exactly.
Like,
And Obama gave those motherfuckers billions.
man, everybody's been giving them money. Like they stay getting money. And then everybody be like, well, what about the Native Americans? How about Black Americans who you haven't given shit? Like, but we gave you stuff from the Great Society. Like, motherfuckers, you got the Homestead Act. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, if not, I want y'all to listen. I am all for this. Like, because white people like, we shouldn't pay reparations. Fine. Then I want a 100% inheritance tax for all white people. Or all non-ADOS people. No, all non-Black Americans. 100% wealth tax for the next 5 generations. Then, by then, it should all kind of start to shake out.
That sounds like an actual like meritocracy, but
you want to start over. If you want to hit the reset button, as I said, only for non-ADOS people. I'm not giving up shit.
Most of us ain't got shit to give up.
Mm-hmm.
But
people need to read when affirmative action was white. Period.
Exactly, because they got so much free shit, and that's the thing. Like, they don't realize like all the free shit that they got from the government. And they're like, you guys, even now, the majority of people on welfare are white. The majority of people on food stamps are white. Like, y'all got to understand this shit. And like, so stop focusing on color and focus on fixing the issue. Because y'all don't want to give us shit, but you don't want to fix your own people either. If you was out here saving poor white people, some poor Black people would get saved in just through the trickle. But you're not doing that. You just out here running your mouth. Telling us what we don't deserve. Go ahead.
The country of Germany pays reparations to the Holocaust survivors, the German Holocaust anyway. Mm-hmm. Under Obama administration, there was $12 million set aside for Holocaust survivors that was distributed over 5 years.
Exactly.
Right? For
Nobody
U.S.
said
victims,
shit.
Right? And no one said thank you either. You know what I'm saying? They didn't say thank you. You know what I'm saying? But when we ask for our reparations, for our check, man, it's crickets. And even people speaking to our detriment about ways that it can't be possible and can't happen.
Mm-hmm. And how it should just be some programs, some housing assistance, and some free college, and we should just get on. But again, people aren't reading any of the resources, which would tell you that us having home ownership doesn't close the racial wealth gap, and us having college doesn't close the racial wealth gap. And you, as the head of the fucking Black Studies department at a prestigious fucking college, should need somebody who has a fucking culinary degree and way too much time in community college to tell you this. I'm just saying, like, shit. It's so ridiculous. Go ahead, John.
Well, as somebody that, you know what I mean, that has ascended to a level that got an associate's degree, I know a lot of shit, man. I know a lot of shit, man. And the shit I know, and I'm like, I'm fucking with you. But nah, man.
Come on.
With the Native American shit. The shit, what they doing with the Native American shit is like, I mean, it's textbook, you know what I mean? It's because, like, the way they did our people and shit like that, It's so horrible and shit. Like it's so horrendous and shit. And they did horrible things to Native Americans too, but they have always been trying to do things to remedy. I ain't gonna lie, like real shit's like two of them left. They really did a number on them. But the United States government, the government has been actively trying to, you know what I mean, rectify that wrong. They've been like even if it's a little bit, but they giving them something just for them for years and years and years. So every time it's time to get something for us, it's like, well, what about them? It's like what? You know what I mean? Like what are you talking about? Like why would you? It's like when a Native American is asking some shit about land, whether it be land, sovereignty, money, treaties. They do not talk about some Native Americans. Y'all got fucked up, but we did black people horrible in this country. What about them? No, they like, all right, we'll give you $2 billion. You know, they probably owe them way more than that. But they giving them something just for them. Like, but for us, because the anti-blackness is real, is like, nah, man, because Native American, look at the reservation. Look at, I mean, like, yo, what the like that's fucked up. But yo, I'm not talking about them. We talking about us. So,
But they never do that with any of these groups. They never say to any of these groups, whoever it might be, well, what about the black people? But for us, with every issue, it's always about what about this other group of people?
Exactly.
And then like they're pitting us against other groups of motherfuckers. Eventually, you're starting beefs. Like honestly,
yeah, of course, because then we get to the point and be like, well, fuck them. What about them? Like, when did you ask them about us? And then they be mad because they be like, you guys are being divisive. Fuck you. I have never. Okay, so I'm trying to be more specific because there was the Japanese who did sign on for reparations for Black Americans. I want to be specific, but like, you know, you see all this like Asian APPI, you know, stop violence against Asians. When do you see Asians being like, and don't forget the Black people too, because you know there's a lot of anti-Black racism too, right? Like nobody else does that. Nobody else is like out here like, yeah, this is for the raza. We need this for the Latinos. Oh, but don't forget about the Black Americans too. Like they don't even talk about Black Latinos.
And they don't have, no, speaking as someone who is half Afro-Latina, no.
I keep forgetting that Haitians count. I forget that y'all count as Latinos. Like, I don't even think about y'all as Latinos. You know why? Because Haitians get done so dirty.
You see what I mean? Say mal. Anyway.
Like, I think of Dominicans as Latinos
and
Latinas, but I don't think of Haitians. And it's like the same goddamn island.
Yes, it is. And that's part of the reason why we're Afro-Latina or Latino. So going back to the indigenous people, if anything, they need to talk about Black people when it comes down to them and their reparations that they keep receiving, because they keep kicking out the Black people who are indigenous. The Black Choctaw is different from the Choctaw. And I come from that. My people on my Mississippi side, they are Choctaw. There's Black Choctaw and separate. So let's talk about what about Black people? What about Native? Let's do that conversation. And America always keeps having this conversation about Native Americans when she should have had that conversation when slavery ended in 1865. She should have had that conversation then, but she did not. Now she wants to have it. You too late. Because these indigenous tribes are kicking us out of their reparations packages that they get. So no, it's not what about Native Americans when it comes to Black folk, with ADOS folk. No, tell it to the natives when they keep kicking us out. They do not deserve our reparations package claim. Nothing. They have their shit. Anywho.
God damn.
Real talk. All right, back to this Negro and his crayons and rainbows. I'm gonna say this just real quick again. If writing checks doesn't matter, why did they give out 3 different stimulus checks over the course of this pandemic if sending people cash doesn't help? That's it. Let's see what else is fucker. Go ahead. Oops. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm still here.
Are you playing
it didn't play?
No.
Oh, it didn't play? Okay, no worries. I'll set it back up. Wait, what happened? Why did my thing? Wait, hold on. How did it go all back? Sorry, give me a second. I was like, that shit went. Oh yeah, no, we were further than that. And then that shit. Give me a second. I'm pulling it back to the thing and then I'm gonna start over. You did that part.
But in the meanwhile,
Sorry.
no,
No, just give me a second though, because I can't hear him over you. Give me a second.
Yeah, Sam. Go ahead, sis.
Give me a second, my dear.
We're at least at 412.
Yeah, where he's talking about that release yourself stuff, that flowery language. Okay, we'll start around there because he starts using all that bubbly, flowery language. All right, and then share. Microphone on, start broadcast. Okay, get back to that. Did it go? Can you guys see the screen now?
Yeah.
Well, sure. I think reparations is a very, very complex, subject. And it doesn't just simply mean writing a check. It means in some ways through policy, trying to remedy past wrongs, right, that have resulted in current evidence or current, differentiations and outcomes. So look, the original sin of America, in my view, isn't slavery. The original sin of America isn't really the genocide of Native peoples. The original sin of the country is the belief that white people matter more than others.
Where's my baby powder?
And that belief has had consequences like genocide and slavery. And so part of what we have to do is to understand.
We were not enslaved because white people thought that they were better than us. We were enslaved because we were making white people so much money that if their kids wouldn't have died in the fields, they would have put their kids out there to make that money.
In fact, we are the children of our slave masters and of slaves. They would rape their children. They would rape their quote unquote property and then look the children in the eyes who have the same phenotype as them or similar genetics and still keep them enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the most insane shit ever? Like, how the fuck do you look at your child and enslave them or lynch them? How the fuck do you do that?
Monsters.
They're not human. That's how. I'm sorry. I have to say it. They're not human. That's just
They're
not
gonna come for you, Dr. J.
It's not human for you to do that to your children. It's not human.
Well, it's like that whole James Baldwin thing, like what happens to, slave to go through that for generations, but what happens to the people who enslaved them? Like, what does it take to change in them for their generations to be able to commit that kind of evil?
And they wonder why we so fucked up. You know what I mean? They wonder why we so, you feel me? Like, real, they wonder why we so.
Shit, you need to wonder why they so fucked up too. Irony be talking about the white family all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, even now they're upset. Oh, I don't want to keep talking about that guy. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But they'll say, but the whole thing about it is that, like real, I think it's a narrative that, like, all the light-skinned slaves was in the house. That's a damn fucking lie. That's a lie.
Yeah.
Nigga,
yeah.
If your baby look like Blake Griffin, nigga, that nigga in the field. Fuck you talking about?
Real talk, his big ass. Real talk.
What?
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting the bread. Like, there's a whole bunch of dark-skinned black mommies in the house controlling the whole house and shit like that. But you feel me? Like, but you think it's just all light-skinned people in the house? Like, what you talking about? Like, it was about money. The money brought the dehumanization, nigga, everything got mixed up. But I think the narrative that all the light-skinned people was in the house is a fucking lie. They had them light-skinned niggas outside. You feel me? Real shit. They did. So, word up. This shit is all fucked up. They horrible people, man. Word up.
All right, back to anybody else before I get back to Eddie Glaude and his flowery language. Like I said, it just keeps getting worse.
Is to understand, right, what it means to organize a society along the belief that white men in particular, white straight men, ought to be valued more than others, and how that valuation has organized the distribution of advantage and disadvantage over the course of our history. Once we acknowledge that, then we can begin the hard work of trying to build a more just, a more racially just society. That's it seems to me, the foundational move at its heart.
The fuck?
As ever, well said by you. You put it so.
That's why he
you
laughing.
put it so eloquently, Eddie, and that's why we love having you on the show. I got to ask one last question. The critics would say it's all very well in theory, and a lot of not just critics, a lot of Americans would say in principle they like the idea of this. It makes sense. It's just. But how's it going to work in practice, they'll say? Who's going to decide how much money? Who's going to decide who qualifies for reparations? Which black people can qualify as descendants of slaves and which ones cannot qualify? Is that insurmountable in your view?
Get it.
The descendants of slaves qualify as the descendants of slaves. What the fuck is he talking about? Like the ones who went through American chattel slavery and their families went to black code law,
redlining, all that shit.
People. Like, why are we acting confused about this?
You don't like the mental gymnastics?
Nah. But I also think it's weird that we're at the end of the interview, and this is the first time he really asked them like practical things about reparations.
Like how it would work, who would go to. And Eddie was a disappointment this whole fucking interview. Anything else before I keep going, y'all? Go, Mud, tell him who would get reparations, please. For our new listeners.
The eligibility that has been that Dr. William Darity has come up with is basically you would be eligible if you can trace your lineage back to one ancestor that was enslaved in America, and you have been identifying as Black at least 10 to 12 years before the implementation of a reparations policy or a study to come up with the parameters for a reparation policy.
And then they threw out the being able to locate yourself on the 1870s census too, right?
Yeah. I mean, we can go, like, there's a bunch of ways it could be figured out. Honestly, like, I think if the American government wanted to figure it out, it could.
They can figure out anything. Like they have a lot of this information. A lot of records have been burned, but a lot of information is still out here. A lot of these families still have a lot of this shit in attics and everything else. They could literally be going out. They could have whole teams of people that would go out to a lot of these family members, reach out, ask to go through their attics, pay them to make copies of those records and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways to get this information. It's not hard to find. Like, I didn't have a hard time tracking the majority of my ancestors to slavery. Like, I've been able to track like 6 out of 8 to plantations, and 2 of them I can track to slave masters. So it's not that complicated.
Yeah, I got 4 on the census, and like that's, you know, that wasn't even like trying. I found them in like a weekend. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that hard.
And like the same thing here. Like my grandmother has the photos to prove it. So, and then, you know, it's in her house on the west side of Chicago. So, yeah, it's not hard. We're right here. We didn't go nowhere.
And that's the thing that kills me. Like, y'all act like we are this traveling group of people. Like, we don't leave the country like that. Like, where do you think all these Negroes went after slavery? Like, we didn't leave.
And honestly, they set it up to be like this because they had a whole process of segregation where we never got to assimilate into the American society.
Exactly.
So they had us separated so that we could be a very distinct people.
And you still know who we are.
Exactly.
Because you can track us throughout the time. Like, you know, like I said, it's not that hard to track us. It really isn't. Like, even if you can't catch us all the way to a plantation, you can catch us, most of us, before the 1900s.
Well, in my understanding, amongst reparationists, we were mentioning the censuses. I don't know what there's 1850, 60, and 70. Those are right around the time of the Civil War, right? In my white people ran out to write as many names down of people who they had enslaved so that when they were getting compensated emancipation, essentially getting paid for freeing their slaves, they were paid reparations, right? White people were in the amount of $300 for every enslaved person that they lost. And again, we were worth $400 at the time, right? Which we've calculated as to 192,000 or something with inflation. So white people got paid a whole lot per slave that they lost, and they wanted to make sure they got their check. So they ran out to write our names down, and that might be to their detriment when it comes to our justice claim as well.
Yeah.
That's something to keep in mind.
The only thing is, like, with the 1850 and the 1870, it's more like boy, girl, age. Some names are there. Like, I've been able to find a couple of my family members' name, but everybody's name isn't listed. At least not on the census, but you still get boy, girl, age. And that's how it gets easy to kind of start connecting your family through the 1870 census. Because most of the time you didn't move that far away from where you were. And then you can start to track, like, okay, well, they were born here and they were this age. And you start to be able to kind of piece stuff together that way. And like I said, a lot of this stuff, I really feel like it's sitting in people's attics and shit too. Plus, we don't know what the government has that they're sitting on anyway.
And speaking of government, insurance companies, y'all.
Yeah, because they insured us.
Yeah, and a lot of those insurance companies exist in Hartford, Connecticut, the insurance capital of the world. And when slavery ended in 1865, Hartford, Connecticut was one of the wealthiest cities in the United States. Wonder why? And it's a northern city. It was a union state. Yeah. They made a lot of money off the backs of Black folk. But yeah.
Sounds about right.
Oh, and to add on, like, we don't even have to get really that complicated as far as like doing the reparations like program as far as the eligibility is concerned, because as like it's been shown that before the 1965 immigration bill, like Black immigrants in this country were to the left of the decimal point. I mean, to the right of the decimal point. So like, it's not even a high percentage of people that, like, even if you just said, okay, if you could trace your family back to 1964 in America, and you know, and we're gonna include everyone that could do that and they're Black. Even if we did that shit, it would be a small number of like Black immigrants that would just get in the mix. And honestly, most of them are probably ADOS anyway, because they've been here mixing with our past 6 years. You know, I mean,
exactly.
6 years. So,
like I said, my only issue is with the Cosby Show kids. And people can be mad all they want because my homegirl's a Cosby Show kid. And you think if I get a reparation check, she's not going to get no money? So instead of y'all being mad, y'all should go find some Black American friends who will include you in their business when this reparations come. Just saying. You need to be getting set. You need to be setting up your connections so you can get put on. That's what you need to do.
Bro. I'm not giving my Black immigrant homie no bread. Nah, bro. Get your bread from
Nah. See, my homegirl isn't even an islander. She's from Ghana, so she ain't got no money coming. We got a whole agreement that if she finds out she got slave traders in her family, she'll tell me.
That's real. I ain't like that's her homegirl for real though.
We had a whole conversation about this shit.
Yeah, I think every immigrant that comes here should be pro-Black. Period.
I'm telling you. I think you should definitely they should have a whole Black history section on that fucking test for sure. Because a lot of them come over here talking real reckless. And it's like, no, we built this shit and you wouldn't even be able to come over here as a Black or brown skinned person if it wasn't for us. So I'm gonna need y'all to miss me with that bullshit. Because before then you couldn't even be a citizen unless you was Anglo-Saxon, one of these white people. So that's the thing that kills me. Like, everybody wants to give us their ass to kiss, but we built the foundation of this country. But again, like, we have to take ownership of that. And I think if we would have kept ownership of that, because remember, Baldwin was talking about that in the 60s. You can see the black and white videos of him talking about, we built this country. I built the railroads, like I brought the cotton. We made sure that it made it to port. You know what I mean? Like, it's real talk.
It's real talk indeed.
So we just got to start reminding people. And one thing that I've noticed is people are not used to us checking them. Like they are so sick when we check their ass. They're not used to it. I'm like, what did I say? You said some shit that was reckless and we told you about it. I didn't know you knew. You just used to people not saying nothing when you say reckless ass shit.
And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb and Melodies from Heaven. Continue.
All right, we got I think we got like a minute and a half or something like that. Maybe 2.5 minutes.
Should we just play it way through?
Yeah, let's play it through and do final thoughts.
All right.
All right. This is going to be excruciating though.
No, it's like a family. Let me use this analogy. I want my child to go to the best college in the country. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it, but that doesn't mean I can't aspire for my child to go to the best college in the country. I will figure it out. That's where I want her to be, right? So we don't want to let the practical concern, right, short circuit the aspiration.
What? We
want to aspire to be a more just society. Let's make that happen. Right? And we can figure that out. As Joe Biden would say, we're Americans, right? Let's deploy that American exceptionalism on behalf of a more just America.
It would be a great irony, would it not, if Joe Biden is the person who presides over, if not reparations, then at least the advancement in the argument over reparations, given in the same way it was LBJ, an unlikely Democratic president, who presided over civil rights and the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah, but he's historically situated. I mean, he's the first white vice president of the first black president.
Who wouldn't have gotten
He's the first president of the first black woman vice president.
Who wouldn't have qualified for reparations.
So he's uniquely positioned to usher in a new America. So let's see what happens.
Let's definitely see what happens. We're going to be covering it closely on this show. But that's all we have time for now. Eddie Glaude Jr., always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Okay, so the shit where he starts talking about, I would want for a perfect society, but I'll just wish and hope that it happens. What the fuck was he talking about? Y'all see what I mean when I was like, what is this dude talking about?
What's frustrating to me? The fact that this motherfucker just wrote a book about James Baldwin. Like, how you
slap him
a whole book on James Baldwin and your interpretation and analysis on his rhetoric and his ideology, and you out here talking about some rainbows and Skittles, bitch. No,
I can't.
No sympathy for him.
I cannot. Anybody else?
Very disappointed.
Yeah. Whoa, what the fuck was that? So you get in front of the media to talk about reparations, and instead of thinking of looking up any practical thing that you can say to make it so that this could actually be something that is possible in the minds of people, you just want to talk about aspirational fantasy land bullshit that no one's going to buy into.
No facts.
Yeah, the motherfucker that clicked on it and got to as halfway through this shit probably went to something else, clicked on another.
No, it turned it off. Because what is he talking about?
He's not talking about anything. He's not even giving you anything to grasp onto. So even if you're not as informed as he should be, you should leave that interview with enough information that you can go out and have this conversation with someone else. But that was just some bullshit. He didn't give you anything.
Nothing.
You didn't go into if you watched that video, you didn't learn anything about the topic to even persuade it into support for reparations. That was a complete waste of time.
Complete waste of time. Now imagine watching this shit at 3:45 in the morning. This is how I started my day. I was like, the fuck?
The answers was speaking to you, Sam.
Telling me Eddie Glaude is on some bullshit, because I already knew he was kind of on some bullshit. Because remember when he did that whole video where he was talking about how it was okay to withhold our vote because, they weren't doing shit for black people, but then he had to backtrack that shit because ADOS kept playing that video around the election time. He's like, no, but that's because but Trump, so So Trump. Mm-hmm.
I apologize for what I said in 2016. I was wrong. No, nigga, you was right. You just didn't stand on your fucking square.
No, he was wrong because he wants to keep getting these checks and he knows who pays them. Like I said, a lot of y'all niggas just out here dancing for your supper.
No, I'm saying he was right in 2016, and he
said
apologize because he said he was wrong for that.
And I said he knew he was wrong because he out here dancing for his supper, and that don't get him big checks.
Oh well, yeah.
That don't get you to come on MSNBC and do all that other shit. Like, people hadn't even really seen that video. We unearthed that video.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, we was out here like, whoop.
Yeah, that's true.
And fuck Eddie Glaude Jr.
His analogy speaks to a misunderstanding of how there's two Americas. Mm-hmm. When he says, even in his example, when he says like, we have to want to wish to go to the best college, you know, because that's me aspiring for the best, right? Mm-hmm. White people are paying to get degrees and they ain't even going to class, and they're using our stolen wealth to do it, to pay that money. You know what I'm saying? And it's institutions we built, by the way, right? How do we create actual justice in our community? You know what I'm saying? This is what I think it can be. When Black Americans actually are in control of a specific resource, something that we grow, like hemp or something like that, that we can cut off when we have a problem with a policy in the country. I don't think it can be from voting or anything like that personally. And that's why I'm somebody that's always preaching to the choir about, I'm preaching about separation, sometimes to the choir. And that gets to my last point, which is what I think Eddie Glaude is getting towards, which is a problem. White people want to hear that reparations is the same thing as forgiving them. Right? So he's trying to be like, yo, we're going to forgive you because you're finally going to be fixing it. We'll be an amalgamated America where we all shake hands. Reparations is going to be forgiveness. I disagree with that completely. It's a debt owed. And when you have a business partner, and that's a very, very kind way of putting it, and they don't pay you for hundreds of years, they brutalize you instead and try to distract you, attack your women. Like, why are you supposed to forgive them when they pay up? That has nothing to do with it. You see what I'm saying? And so it's disingenuous. And so that's what he's trying to get to. He's trying to say like, yo, don't worry. Like, you know, the America will be the best college in the world. It'll be the most beautiful shining beacon once we pay reparations. Yeah, but I think we should disconnect those two. And I don't have no problem telling white people to their face, I'll never forgive them for what was done to us, guaranteed.
My whole thing is like, this isn't even about forgiveness. Like, first of all, I don't need white people to stop being racist. I don't need to forgive you. All I need is my money, access to resources, and outcomes. That's kind of what I care about. All that other shit, it don't matter like that. I hate to say it, but it really doesn't. Like, reparations to me has nothing to do with changing the hearts and minds of white people. It really doesn't. And if you're one of those Black people who wants to go live around racist white people, not all white people are racist, but there are racist white people and they do tend to like to live in communities. And if you decide you want to go move your ass into a racist white community, that's between you and you. But for me, I'm gonna take my reparations, I'm gonna live my good life, and I'm gonna live around where I want to live. And that's what it is. Like, these folks be doing too much. But that's the thing. Like, this is not about love. This is not about us all coming together and holding hands, because it'll literally take 3 or 4 generations to do the healing that needs to be done in this country. And it has nothing to do with fucking feelings. It's going to have to deal with like massive education, like what they did in Germany after the Holocaust. So that's going to take generations. Old people are never going to give a fuck. It's going to take the kids and growing them up and having generations of them growing up not being terrible fucking human beings.
Yeah, and to go further, maybe I'm so much of the oracle in the Matrix. I have white people at a distance, and what I do to them off the rip is I say to them, listen, I don't trust you. You have to prove to me. You're gonna have to earn my trust. I don't trust white folk off the rip. But I do think, like Sam said, you know, we do need to educate them. But as far as like kumbaya, no, I'm not here for that. I'm here for elevation of Black folk. Like, and I believe this wholeheartedly. America killed equality after she killed Fred Hampton. There's no more equality talk. We're done with that. Black folk need to be elevated. And I think eventually we can be separated. But right now, I think elevation first, and then we can talk separation. But before those things, reparations. And then we can talk about elevation and separation.
See, the thing is, they're never going to let us separate. They love us too much. I know this is a dream, but they're never going to let us leave. It's like fucking Pharaoh. Like, if we try to leave, there will be violence. Like, if 25 million Black people stood up, ADOS people stood up right now and be like, we out, we leaving, they would shut down the borders. They would lock us the fuck down. I'm so serious. Like, we have the sickest relationship ever.
It is only American. It's only in America. It's strange as fuck. We're gonna go through a
can't leave.
Maybe
like an abusive husband.
That actually speaks back to James Baldwin again, but a different quote, one where he said, "I am not your Negro."
Exactly.
Right. But you should question, why do you need a Negro?
Right. To make them feel better. Yeah. They're sick. They're not well. They're not human. Sorry.
Like I try to say, like, we the bastard children of America. You know what I mean? Like we the bastard abused babies of America. You know how you hear them stories about, like, these motherfuckers have been torturing their own kids for years and years.
Keeping them in the basement and shit.
Word up. Why you ain't just kill the baby then? No, I don't want, no. I like abusing the baby. And then give him a hug. Now he got Stockholm syndrome now. Now you confusing them. See that I feel like that's the kind of psychological shit they did to us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and we trying to break out of that. And I think that reparations, what reparations really does is it fucking gives us, like I said, it gives us power and autonomy to do what we want to do and be who we want to be. I think naturally we'll just build our own community naturally. If you want to live with white, I don't give a fuck who you want to live with. But now it's different now. So now if you move to that white community, everybody racist, they can't fuck with you, man. They can't feel me, like it's like a lone Asian moving in the white community and they do something to them. You see how they wilding out? You see that? They got behind them, they got money. That's what reparations does. It gives us power, it gives us autonomy, the real freedom to do what we want to do. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what it's about. If I mean, like, and they know that, and it scares the shit out of them because they never lived in America where that was the case. Like, they think that we gonna turn into some other people. That's it. We just want our shit, be left alone. We always just wanted our shit and be left alone. People don't understand that shit. That's it.
What Frederick Douglass said. He said, "Give us our shit and leave us the hell alone."
They never did that though. They've never left us alone. Like, every time, like, they leave us alone for a little bit, we get our shit together and they come and kick over our fucking sandcastle. It's like being at the beach and you just keep kicking over a kid's fucking sandcastle. And then at the end of the day, they're like, you suck. You didn't build any fucking sandcastles today, you lazy fucking kid. Bastard. You've been fucking kicking over my sandcastle all goddamn day. Are you fucking serious? Could have built the Taj Mahal.
Motherfucking crackers ain't shit.
All right.
Yeah, we built the White House twice, y'all.
Yeah, right. Because the first time that shit burnt down, right?
Yep.
All right, so I guess let's close up this episode, and then we can do like the bonus in this edition of racism. Because, like I said, that Crowder video, like, it's low hanging fruit. Like, we ain't even really gonna have to work that hard on it because it's obviously racist. That's why you can't get a hold of the video no more. I wish we would have pulled it down so we could have had the whole thing, but I wasn't thinking about it. So we done with that. Thank you, everybody. Like, comment, share, subscribe, you know. And I think this is a pretty good episode, especially for, like I said, for me having to wake up in the middle of the night to see this shit. And then that's it.
Listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them, put them back on the grill again. We grilling them, put them back on the grill again. We grilling them, back on the grill again. We grilling them, You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. Lineage go back to U.S. Southern plantations. Penniers, Jim Crow, and mass incarceration. Redline and lynchings. We are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one, cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire, anti-black, we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country, the win, you need our energy. You gon' see, listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.
Until you do right by me, everything you think about is gonna crumble.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.